You've been
Sorry, hold on.
sorry today, Cal. Okay, welcome. Calvin Acker. He is with Obi Helpers, which is a phenomenal idea that I wish it had come along a long time ago. But I'm going to let Calvin enlighten us because he'll do a much better introduction and explanation of what it is. So I thank you for joining us today, and let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hoping you guys can see my screen here.
We can.
Let me make sure.
You did see it.
Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, as Lynn introduced, I'm Calvin. Appreciate getting to hear from all of you. I think we'll get into a little bit about me in a second here, but yeah, my father has Parkinson's, so and has had it for a long time, so can definitely relate. And grandparents with Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff. So yeah, I appreciate the work you guys are doing and how progressive you are in coming and visiting with Lynn, who's an amazing resource. But yeah, I was invited in today to speak about aging in place without breaking the bank. This was the ringy title we try to come up with for how to age in place and some of the best resources that we've seen for doing that on a limited budget. And so this is kind of the list that we've accumulated over the years and are hoping to pass on some knowledge to you guys today. But within my business, which we can get into at a later point, one of the things that we work with is we introduce seniors to people who help them around the home. And one of the big goals is kind of making fast friends. And so for me, I think the best way to do that is with a combination of vulnerability and qualifications. So we can start with vulnerability. This is my grandmother shown here on the left side. She passed about 2 years ago, this coming February. And I was very close with her, and she was a tremendous mentor in my life. But once she passed, my grandfather needed a lot of help around the home. Just some companionship, some assistance driving, cooking, cleaning, all the little things that my grandmother had helped with because she was a little bit more able-bodied. He needed help with all of a sudden. And that put a big burden on my mother, who's shown on the right side. And she was working full time at the time, and so it just became this total mess of her not getting much sleep and being constantly stressed. So at the time, I was studying engineering at Stanford and couldn't be of assistance. But for me, it started a journey of wanting to work in the elder care space and find a way to assist families like my own who were struggling with balancing full-time jobs and other responsibilities, as well as helping out around the home of a senior family member. And so this started a journey at that time, like I was saying, and got me into conversation with our now advisor, who's a gerontologist, Dr. Miguel Galindo. And that started this whole journey, and that, like I says, ended up with here today. But for context, I love business and tech. That's why I was studying engineering, and that's why I think we have some resources that we can cover today that would be very helpful, hopefully. But the big focus for us has been aging in place solutions. And across the, over a year now that I've been working in this space, I've come across a lot of good resources that are not my own, but ones that I've been recommending to family and friends as it suits their needs. And so we've compiled those into a list that hopefully will be helpful to you. And the hope is that you all walk away with one resource that can be of assistance to you. So the first thought we have when it comes to how to age in place, on a budget is how can we get more money coming in? And so if this is an issue for any of you guys, living on a fixed budget and trying to come up with ways to get more resources to pay for care, there's a couple options that we've come across that we think can be valuable. One of the first is there are two different companies that have come out in the last couple of years. One is called Italy and the other is Givers. And the goal of these companies is to help caregivers, family caregivers, navigate all the different ways and programs that could potentially pay them for the family caregiving that they're providing. A lot of insurance companies and government organizations are starting to recognize that family caregivers are the backbone of the caregiving economy. and are finding ways and programs to try to support them. And so whether or not you qualify depends on the programs that you're in and your income level and these different things. But these are two really good services where you can go on, put in some of your information, who you're caring for, where you live, all of this kind of information, and quickly get back assistance from them on what you can qualify for in terms of being paid to be a caregiver. And so there's a quote from the Givers website on there, which says billions of dollars are locked up behind paperwork and eligibility criteria that are just too difficult to access. And so what these programs provide is that you can check within a couple of minutes to see which of these programs you're fit for, and then they help guide you through any criteria or trainings or background checking that you need to do to fully qualify for that. And so they can walk you into maybe a minor certificate in caregiving that you can get within a couple of hours that will then allow you to qualify and get paid by an insurance company or paid by Medicare. There's limitations on these. Some of these, may not apply to you, but I think it's a really good check to do just because the upside is so high. And in terms of trust of this program came out of the AARP Age Tech, which is a program where they're funding innovation in the age space. And so it's, a really trustworthy program and one that they've spent a lot of time developing. And then I think the other big way to, increase the amount of money you have access to is on the end of, having more money coming in from possessions that you already own. And so if you guys are familiar with the sharing economy concept, it's the idea that you already own a possession, and you can find a way to use that to bring in more money with very little effort. And so a great example of this is a company called Neighbor. This is one of my favorites for creating more passive income, which is effectively, if you have any extra space in your home, whether it's a garage, a closet, an attic, more space in the driveway, you can find a way to list that. And then, and then someone will come and they will, if it's a space in the driveway, if they have a boat and they don't have anywhere to park it, they will now park their boat in your driveway and pay you, like they're saying, $50 to $150 to be able to park it there each month. Or if you have extra space in your garage and it's climate controlled, rather than going and paying for a storage unit and paying their tremendous fees, they pay you to get a habit in there. And again, in terms of safety, this is a very safe program. They have $1 million host guarantee for any damages that occur because of a renter that they have going on. But if you have a garage or a basement, a spare bedroom, a shed, driveway, anything like that. And so, just to show you what this is, again, these aren't our services. These are just ones that we really stand by. These are 3 different people who have listings in the Austin area. So this one on the left side, they have a garage. They're willing for someone to put a car there or put storage units there or something like that. And they're asking for $116 a month. So if your garage is empty, that's a great way to get some extra cash coming in. Or this person has kind of a shed. They listed it as other, but really it's a shed. And they're looking for $85 a month. Someone can come, put their stuff in there. And as a result, they get paid for that. And then here's another one that I think is a good example, even if you are using your garage for your car, but there's a little bit of extra space. This is a 16 by 8 foot space. They're asking for $31 a month. So it doesn't have to be a huge space, but if you live in a good area, close to people with high rents, then people aren't going to be wanting to drive out to Georgetown to get a storage unit and pay a bunch of money out there when they could just pay you to put it in your room. And what you can see as well, the last thing that I'll point out in this service is that what you can do is kind of set the visitation hours. And so this person, for example, is like, yeah, I don't want random people coming in on my house. And so you need to set an appointment and say, hey, I'm going to come by on Thursday, if that's okay with you, in the morning and grab a couple of my boxes. And so that's a great way to make it so it doesn't impede your life, but is a way to make some passive income. Another side of this is if you have a spare bedroom in your home, there's multiple services where you can list that room. I think the stat is that about 80% of seniors have a spare bedroom in their house. And so there's multiple ways to list that, to find someone who wants to come and live with you and pay rent, which will come in to your income. And It's a great way to, increase your monthly spend, increase the amount of money that's coming into the pockets, without needing to do much. If you can find someone who's trustworthy, who you're interested in having live with you, you can get a couple $100s a month for that space that you already own. And so here's a couple examples of some people in the area who are on Silver Nest, which is one of these ones that's a little bit more focused on seniors who have an extra space in their room. But you have a 74-year-old medical professional, and the other person is also a recent retiree, and they're listing their rooms and checking to see if there's anybody who would want to come and live with them. And both of them are listing for a couple $100s a month, as extra income for someone who would share that home with them. Continuing on, there are other, smaller resources or possessions that you can do a similar concept for, the sharing economy concept of, hey, if you have, a car, an X that you're not using, cameras, golf bags, electric bikes, power tools, lawnmowers, you can find people who will pay you to use those resources so that they don't have to go and rent it from Lowe's or somewhere where it'd be more expensive. These ones are a little bit less passive of an income source because if someone's going to come use your power drill for a day, it means that you have to, coordinate that drop off and pick up. Where in the way with a spare bedroom or with the, the driveway solution, you only really need to set it up once. So I'm not going to go into details on those, but happy to discuss it if someone has questions about a resource that they have. These ones just require a little bit more management, where I think they're a bit harder to use. And then switching gears a little bit, I'm sure many of you have heard of reverse mortgages. And so if you own your home, there are ways to get money out of your home so you can access it now without moving out. I personally really do not like reverse mortgages. They are riddled with problems. There's really high placement fees. There are all these issues with it growing over time and possibly outvaluing your house at the end of it. But there are some new innovations in the same concept of, hey, how can I liquidate a little bit of money from my current home so that I can use it now without giving up the home? And I think the biggest thing that I like about these newer versions is that it isn't debt. You're not taking debt on your home. And the percentage of the home that they own doesn't grow over time. So currently, if you get a reverse mortgage and you ask for 10% of your home's value, as interest rates go up, the amount of the home that they own, or when you sell it eventually, goes up, and you risk giving up kind of that nest egg, that safety net of, hey, if I need to, I can always sell it later. And so that's a big concern point for a lot of people is, hey, I want to be able to pass down my home or some percentage of my home, or I want to know that it's there so I can always sell it. If worse comes to worse, I can sell it and use that to, buy entry into, assisted living or something like that. And so the benefit of these new versions, these home equity investments, is that you avoid all of those issues. And so getting into what an HEI is, again, we always recommend you talk to financial advisors before making any decisions. But what these new concepts are, which I just want to make sure you're aware of, is what they want to do is they buy, let's say, 10% of your home's value. And that 10% will always be the same. They'll only ever own 10% of your home's current value. But if your home appreciates, which is what they're betting on, if your home goes up over time, because homes are one of the most consistent assets that are going up, then what they want is they want a bigger chunk of that appreciation. So if it goes up in value, they want 20% of that appreciation. So your current home's value, you keep 90% of it, but if the home goes up, they just want a bigger share of that, which I think is a totally interesting concept, especially if you're not banking on your home to be, if you're not going to benefit from your home going up in value. So I know that description's a little confusing. So to give a quick example of it, let's say you have a $500,000 home. And today you want access to more capital from that home. You want to liquidate a little bit of it. You can access, let's say, 10%. So you get $50,000 today. In 10 years, let's say that your home goes up 10% in value. So now it's worth $550K, and this is the point when you want to sell it. So the amount that has changed is $550. What you would do at this point is you'd pay back that initial $50K that was leased to you. but then they also want a piece of that appreciation. So how much the home has gone up in value because they're investing in that, in that increase. And so you would give back that 50K, and then you would give back, that 20% of depreciation. And the real benefit of this is that you're never going to ever own or owe more than 10% of your home's value, which is what you initially agree to. So even if interest rates spike, or even if you hold on to that money and never touch it, you'll never lose more than what you initially sell of your home's value, which I think is great for that security and that nest egg, and is a way to allow them to take the gamble on your home going up in value and you maintaining it to a certain degree, without having that risk. So just an interesting opportunity there that we think has some potential to be beneficial to some homes. And then this is, and so this was what I was already talking about, but there's one other version of this that I think is quite interesting. If you're looking for more limited kind of monthly income funds, is the idea of a prepaid debit card that kind of comes off the value of your home. Very similar concept. They didn't like the reverse mortgage. They don't like the idea that it's, there's a risk of losing your home, that it can overvalue your home, that the debt's increasing. Again, just there's a litany of issues with those reverse mortgages. And so what 65 does is they give you up to $3,000 in, debit card access. And that just comes off of your home's value slowly over time. So if you ever want to exit out of your home, sell it or pass it on to a kid or something like that, you do that, and then they just take off the the amount that you've spent over time. So kind of using your home as a bit of a bank, but again, limited in the amount of risk that you're putting into it, and also limited in the sense that there's no expansion or interest rates affecting how much money you've used. Rather than that, it's simply just the amount that that you're spending plus I think it's $30 to $60 depending on how much you use each month, in fees that come out of that. So just kind of some real price clarity there. I think this one's getting a little bit more creative. At the end of this is a program that we've seen some people actually be very interested in, which is if you want to kind of do something a little bit more active to increase the amount of money that you have for aging in place. There's a program called Chef, and effectively you become your own restaurant. So if you're cooking already, you can set a couple hours each week, and set a little menu of what you're interested in cooking, and you can use that to make some income. And they figure out all the details. You just have to cook. They take a small fee off of the profits that you make off of what you're cooking. And then you end up taking the rest in as income. So here's a great example of a chef in the area. She's a retiree. She says, she goes on to explain, and these are some of the things that she's cooking. You can go in and, anyone who's interested in buying food, who don't want to cook that week, instead of buying from a restaurant, they can buy from this woman. So you can get, her family style lasagna or spaghetti and meatballs, grandma's banana bread. Again, easy things to cook. These aren't the most complicated dishes of all time, but she gets that passive income from, cooking a couple extra portions of whatever she's making each week. And then it's also just able to really set the time of how much time she's spending each week. What are those hours? So not being, a slave to the clock, but really getting to set, okay, I only want to cook a couple meals on Thursday, extra meals on Thursday, for maybe someone to have for the weekend. So setting those hours, what are you willing to cook and what are your prices on that? And so, and a little bit more active than the others, but I think a really interesting opportunity to both control your schedule and have some of that extra income. And so, yeah, a little bit more details on that, but we can kind of scoot past that, given I think I covered it all. And then this is switching gears again, but I think this is one of the things that's come up a lot in the research that my team has been doing. Is there are a lot of services that are covered by your, whether it's health insurance, long-term care insurance, if you have it, Medicare, other programs, veterans. And it's just really important to be aware of the programs that exist and advocate for yourself and making sure that you ask for them. And the reason that these programs exist and they've been growing over time is that a lot of these companies that are insuring seniors are incredibly scared that they're overexposed, that if all the people that they're insuring make claims, that they will run out of money. because of poor money management and taking on too much risk. And so what they're doing now is they're investing in a lot of programs that are attempting to be preventative to avoid accidents in the future, to help put in grab bars into your home, to make sure that you're getting all the health checkups you can. And they're kind of switching from this perspective of let's just wait and pay at the end to how can we allocate some money earlier in the aging process to avoid larger costs later down the line, which is a great benefit to you, because that means you can capitalize on some of that. And then the last thought on those is that a lot of these insurance companies are starting to realize that it is cheaper to assist you in your home, and keep you there longer rather than put you in nursing homes until the last minute that they can, because nursing homes, as I'm sure you're all aware, and other assistance homes are so expensive. And so in some senses, these insurance companies, if you have health insurance or have long-term care insurance, are starting to kind of rally behind the idea of aging in place. Obviously, it's selfish for them, but it's always a good opportunity to capitalize on that. And so two programs that I think are really interesting, and again, these may not be covered by your specific plans, but these are ones that I want you to be aware of so that you can ask and say, hey, is there anything similar to this that is covered by my insurance? One that's been doing really well, and has just raised a lot of money from venture capital is called Papa. What their concept is sending companion caregivers to the home upon request. So if you want, someone to go on a walk with you, some transportation, errands, just little things, kind of untrained caregiver tasks, maybe it's changing a light bulb or assisting around the home in some way, they will send that person to the home. It'll be someone who's working in the area, and they'll come provide support or transportation or whatever it is. But because insurance wants to avoid paying for those things and they want to know how you're doing, they're happy to send someone like this into the home to assist you. And so it's a good program. They're covered by a vast majority of Medicare Advantage plans, Medicaid, and commercial health plans, as it says on there. And sometimes you can get up to 60 hours a year of just free assistance and companionship, whatever you're looking for from those programs. So always good when you're in conversation with your insurance companies to be aware of similar programs, because a lot of them are picking up these programs. And then another one that's similar in kind of in the intent is another preventative one called Assured Allies. Again, another interesting to ask your insurance company if there are similar programs and if you qualify, because what they do is they come in and they provide grab bar installations, sometimes lights to make sure you don't trip, home inspections to see if there's anything going wrong, as well as assistive devices that are paid for by these insurance companies, to avoid falls, which they really don't want to pay for. And so they'll, just out of pocket pay for it for you, shower chairs, lightweight vacuums, long-handled reachers. And so a lot of insurance companies are buying up companies like this that are providing these preventative measures in the home to ensure that they don't have to pay more later. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And it's an opportunity for you, if you are talking to your insurance firm, to see if there are programs like this before you pay out of pocket for any of these things that could be covered by them. And then this is another one that we've had a lot of people who are interested in, which is trusts and wills can be very expensive. There's a company that's become very popular because they help you generate your wills or trust, whatever it is that you need. They make legally valid wills and estate plans, and it's all online and it's very convenient and affordable. And so rather than spending a couple $1,000s generating these with sometimes very expensive estate planners, they'll walk you through that process and help you to complete that and charge you significantly less, because they're kind of benefited by the scale of the fact that they're serving people throughout the US. And they've done, hundreds of thousands of wills, and have really been decreasing the cost of those lawyer fees, which can build up. And then kind of jumping into the last section here, these are the pitfalls that we see that can kind of get you moved out of the house, in the sense that, maybe it's your doctor or your kid who goes, oh, this happened. I now need to, start the process of kind of not forcing, but, encouraging mom to start moving into an assisted living facility or considering it. And so we want to avoid some of those pitfalls so that you can stay in your home as long as possible. And so one of those, I know someone was talking, and I hope this is a good resource. It may have been Sharon, if I remember correctly, about people, wandering and fall detection and not wanting to wear devices, but also not wanting cameras in the house. As a technologist, this is one of my favorite, new innovations. But what they have is these sensors that are in the home, and they're not cameras, and you don't have to wear them, but you put them on the walls throughout the house. And what they can do is do fall detection. And I'm sure that they could also do, tracking if someone leaves the home, in the situation of maybe a husband with Alzheimer's who's wandering. But what they allow you to do is kind of get that security and that fall detection, which a lot of, family caregivers and kids and doctors want you to have without giving up that privacy of having a camera or having to carry a device. And so what's cool about these is that they use Wi-Fi signals to track your movement in the home. And you can see it right here. This is an example. It's showing that it knows where the shower is, and then it's showing where this man is. But as you can see, it's not an image of the man. Rather, it's kind of like if you're walking into, it's like more like a motion detector in the sense that it tracks you as just a series of little blobs. And so what's great about that is you're not giving up that privacy of having a camera staring at you all the time, but you can now have fall detection in a bathroom or in a private space without needing to give up that privacy or wear a device or a button or something like that. And the buttons, if it's out of battery, that's an issue. If you can't get to it because it's a big fall and you can't reach that button and manipulate it, that's also an issue. And so what's great about these is that balance of that privacy and the really good fall detection. And so I think these are great devices to put around the home, to, again, make sure that if you fall, someone's alerted, but without doing it in a way that really sacrifices privacy. And the last thing I'd say is that these also operate really well in the dark because it's not based on light rays or vision. So they can see through curtains. It can work well in steam. It works well in darkness, which is sometimes an issue with camera-based systems. And again, I'll send all these details and links to these things to Lynn, and she can pass them along. But I think this is a really interesting service. And then switching gears, one of the other big reasons, I think I forget exactly who was talking about it, but someone was talking about I think it was Darlene was talking about this, yeah, about home management and finding some people you trust. And it sounds like Darlene's already done that, but there's a service that I really like that's an Austin-based service run by a couple standout guys. And what they do is they have a subscription model where instead of waiting for something to break, something big to break, and then having to pay for that big expense, they want to do, again, kind of preventative measures. So they come by once a month, they check on all the little things that you want checked on, and they fix all the little kind of honeydews, is what they call it, issues that have come up. And every month, someone comes by who's trusted and vetted by their organization. They come do all of those measures. And then also they're a resource hub to call because they have contractors and stuff who they trust and, again, have vetted. And so if anything comes up during the month while that person's not there, you can call them and they'll help you find the best resource for that. But I just love that preventative measure of doing the inspections and helping out and changing the light bulbs and stuff without having to find a new person each time. You just know, hey, I'll leave that light bulb off. I know that one of these guys is coming on Wednesday next week. It's not a big deal. And so I'm a big fan of this program, and happy to make introductions for any of these services. And then one of the other big reasons that family members or doctors want you to move into a facility or out of your home is medication management. If you take too many of the pills, you sort them wrong, or you forget to take your medication, as some people were talking about, it can have catastrophic health issues, and again be a big concern for interested parties in you. And so this is a great device. It's a little bit more expensive. I would love it to fit the, aging in place without breaking the bank, but you can buy these services. Some insurance companies do cover them. I think it's about, $200 to get, but you put all of your different medications in the top, you put in your schedules for when you need to take them. And then every day, one of the times where you need it, it sorts a little cup of all the pills you need to take, all the medications you need to take. And it alerts your phone, it alerts a caregiver if you haven't taken your medications, or a family member if you haven't taken them or behind. The little light on it turns red if you're behind on medications and stuff. And so what's great about that is you don't need to rely on humans to sort your medication and make sure you're taking them. You have this kind of all-in-one package that does all of that and ensures that you're up to date on all the things you need to be up to date on. And then kind of jumping into the last one here is, if there's more generally living alone is getting harder, whether you've stopped driving, cooking's becoming more difficult because of Alzheimer's, or, other things that arise, or you need lift assistance because someone you're caring for fell over, and maybe they weigh more than you and you can't lift them up. There's a bunch of great nonprofits in the area. And these are great for those kind of occasional, maybe once a month, a couple times a month assistance that you may need. So Meals on Wheels is a great program. If you, don't want to be cooking one of these days, you can have them come, and they have sliding scale meals, so it's affordable. Drive a Senior is a program that provides transportation to medical appointments. So whether you're still driving or not, some medical appointments, you're not allowed to drive back from due to safety reasons. And so alerting them and seeing if you can get one of their volunteers to come drive. Age of Central Texas has a great resource hub. Capital City Villages also does some occasional rides and social activities if you're interested. You guys all obviously know Lynn and Caregiving Cafe, but also a great resource hub. And then I think one that some people aren't aware of is that a lot of the police departments around Austin provide free lift assistance. So if someone, again, a spouse that you're caring for has fallen and you can't lift them because they weigh more than you, that's a good way to get some free lift assistance. Give them a call and see if the police department that's serving you is one of those. But there's a ton of great resources there. And then, I think getting into the last part of it here, as Lynn mentioned, it was so kind to mention, we run an interesting service in the area that we're hoping to be of help as well. Again, trying to reduce the cost of in-home care so that people can age in place. And so if you need more consistent assistance around the home for things that are getting harder, whether it's, the transportation that we're talking about, or the lift assistance, or meal preparation, respite care, companionship, whatever it is, we run a program. If any of you have ever heard of an au pair, which is kind of like that childcare exchange, a spare room in your house for assistance caring for your child, we do the same thing, but without kind of crossing borders. So I run a program called Obi Helpers. We help you exchange a spare bedroom in your house for in-home help. So if you have a spare room in your home that you're not using, and you're not looking for that rental income of having someone move in just to pay you rent, we find someone in the area who's interested in helping you out around the home for 15 hours each week, providing assistance and companionship with really whatever you need help with, whether that's transportation, meal preparation, assistance with technology, respite care for someone you're caring for and you want a couple hours off. Whatever it is, we find someone who's a good fit for that and then place them in the home with you. So just to give a couple of examples here, these are two people we placed this last weekend. Yusuf he's a Purdue graduate. He's a data scientist, world traveler, and a really good cook, which is a benefit to the home that we placed him in. But he's providing companionship, meal preparation, and transportation to a woman who was recently widowed in the Austin area, and he just moved in this week to that home there. And then Karima is a science teacher at Travis High School, an A&M graduate, and she's providing assistance, mostly childcare, actually kind of on the flip, but she's providing assistance to a family where there's kind of some fluctuating health and they wanted some consistency and someone to rely on to spend time with their daughter. And so, we just there's a bunch of opportunities to have people like this move into your homes, whether it's through renter services or assistance services like ours. But it's just a reminder to, consider that spare room, that extra space in the driveway, and the home as ways to garner more income to allow you to age in place. And then, just as concluding thoughts, I just want to say, you're not alone in wanting to age in place. My grandparents wanted to, my parents will, and when my time comes, I will as well. There's a lot of resources that will hopefully assist. I hope that one of these in there is helpful for each of you. But I would just remind you that there are a lot of people that are working to try to make this possible, like Lynn, Dura, and myself. And if we can ever be of assistance to you, feel free to give us a call, whether it's our service or someone else's. We can always make introductions to people in the area that we know that can kind of best suit your needs. But yeah, those are all the resources that I have for you guys. I hope that's helpful, and happy to answer any questions.
Oh my gosh, this is the most amazing presentation I've heard, I think, in my entire life. And I've been in healthcare for 30 years. So, so many things that I just, I mean, the reality is I'm in my, mid 50s too. The older we get, the less aware we are of what options are out there. And thank God for you guys who are coming up and really tech savvy and understanding what's happening in the world and the changes that are available, because
Yeah.
the older generation, I consider myself, that included, rely on all the new stuff that's coming out that we're not aware of. And thank you for the service you created. I wish we could have had that for my mom. And then sharing all the other opportunities that are out there that we're not aware of, that now when people ask me, I'm a little more aware of ways that I can help them too. So gosh, that was phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Any questions, comments from anybody?
What I have problems with is that I never got involved with the technical, with my computer. I always had somebody working for me, unfortunately, everything for me. Now that I retired and I'm at home, it's passing me by, this age, and I've got to get back on track. I mean, I know the basic stuff for the internet and how to Google and all that and send email and all that. I just need a little bit more information. I don't know who can help with that, but just the resource to be able to keep up with some of this.
Yeah. Big job. Though I see that as two different things, either knowing how to get around on the internet or how to search, or how to use a computer. In that, I see it as separate from web resources, and that's what we're all asking. So what do you say, Calvin?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two things that come to mind for me on that. One is continuing education courses. There's some offered at UT. There's often some offered at libraries in the area. And those can be great ways to take a free class that's intended to, maybe like you're saying, it's how to better use my computer to navigate the internet or find resources or something like that. So I think that's probably my top recommendation. If you have the time, go take one of those courses. They have, people who are well versed in using computers and able to sit down with you for a while and, have a conversation about what you're looking to do and kind of walk you through it. And then the other one that I would say is, there's, in any of the options that are presented with finding a roommate, whether it's our service or someone else's, just having someone who is more, computer versed in the home can be a great way to kind of catch up on that. Is when you have a question, having, someone help schedule an appointment online and walk you through that process, or find other resources. That's definitely one of the benefits we see in having, someone who's a little bit more computer or technology versed placed in the home, is they can help you access resources online by just sitting with you for a half hour each week and kind of walking through the different ways that we could simplify your life via, whether it's ordering groceries to the house, you don't have to drive there yourself, or there's a system that I really like called PillPack, where you can it's through Amazon. They sort all of your medication and send it to you in little pill packs that are all sorted and time stamped for the day. And I think that's a great resource. And so working with one of these younger roommates to kind of walk through that process and make sure that it's all set up and kind of help maintain.
Yeah, and if I may also add, there's I believe it's called Morningside Lifelong Learning, MLL.com, I think it is. They also have all sorts of classes for adults. And
That's what I need is a class.
yeah.
So there's
and Senior Planet. Senior Planet. Check it out. They have all kinds of workshops. This is run by, owned by AARP. And I've taken a class exactly as how to use a computer, and they did.
I know
Yeah.
it's just.
No, I know, but the
terminology,
searches
yeah.
and order things, how to shop, and all those things. I thought it was very helpful. Social media, how to.
So do you, excuse me, but have you ever heard of Lifelong Learning Institute?
Yeah, I think that's the one I was
LLI?
referring to. Yes.
I've never heard of the Morningside one, but Lifelong Learning Institute, they opened up their classes yesterday. So you can go on their website, it's LLI.org, lifelonglearninginstitute.org. And there is a class, it meets every week for 2 hours, I think. 2 hours, I think, yeah. And they teach you all about the phone, the computer, all the different gadgets and electronic type stuff you have.
Yeah,
They
that.
have a beginner
Thank you.
class. They have a beginner class and they have an advanced class. And you do have to take the beginner class before you can get into the advanced class. But a friend
Yeah.
of mine told me that she took the beginner class and now the teacher is so wonderful and so helpful that if she has a problem at the end of the class, he said, here's my phone number. If any of you have problems, you just call me. I can either talk to you over the telephone or I can come to your house and help you figure out what you need.
Wow.
And
Fantastic.
so
Yeah.
it's $30. I mean, it's only $30 for that class. I know they fill up really fast and I'm not so sure there's any more openings in the classes, but you can go in there. They have about 80 different classes that they do. And a lot of them are all about things that Calvin was just talking about. There's a lot of different classes for, it's for people over 55. So they have a lot of classes for people who are looking to, learn about, what to do at the end of life and the wills and all that type of stuff. So yeah, you can learn a lot from them.
Right. Busy.
Yeah, I know. So, okay, so that is the one
Thank
that I
you
was
very
thinking of.
much.
I never remember the name. So thank you for that. So, anyway, anybody else have something? I just thought, isn't that a great idea about Obi Helpers?
Yes.
Isn't that?
Love that.
Oh my goodness, that's what I said. I wish, wow, that is genius.
So
Yeah.
Obi Helpers, is that in the Austin area or where are you located?
Yeah, we're Austin based and serving anywhere from kind of Georgetown to Buda right now.
Okay. And what is your phone number or how do you reach?
That's a great question. I wonder if I have it up here. Yeah, we have both a website and a phone number. You can call it anytime. I think if I'm
Okay.
still sharing screen, yes. Yeah, so it's 737-377-4665.
obihelpers.com. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I even included contact info in the email, but yeah, so it should be there, how to find Calvin in the email that I sent with the link for today's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Could I ask a question?
Yep.
The OB helpers, the people that come into your home, are they vented? I mean, how do we know they're safe?
Yeah, that's the big question. So yeah, we do extensive background checks on all of them, looking, at their history of criminal record, and if they're going to be driving you, also doing motor vehicle checks. And then I don't know if you were hearing at the beginning, Dara and I were talking about this a little bit, but yeah, they're all interviewed by someone on our team. We have about 200 applicants who are ready to be placed in homes in the Austin area. And so luckily we have such a supply that we're able to just narrow it down to the really good candidates. And so we interview them all, background check them all, and then you have an opportunity to meet our two favorites and make a decision on which one you like more. But again, if you meet them and you're not feeling totally safe, then we just call it off. There's no pressure on our end. We only want you to have someone move in who you're feeling really comfortable with. But we do everything we can to, again, vet them and make sure they're as high caliber as you can see. And I think in some of the people that I was showing, I was trying to kind of exemplify the people that we're able to find. They're usually people that you would, trust and have a career and a background that you really know kind of gives you some certainty and trust in them.
Thank you.
Calvin, this is David. Can you just briefly go over the process to how to make this happen
For my service or the other ones?
for yours?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the next step, if you're interested in it, would be we can set up a time to hop on a call and we'll talk through exactly what you're looking for. What we want to figure out from any kind of host that we are setting up is what assistance you want and the kind of schedule for it, because we need to find someone who has a compatible schedule. So let's say you need transportation to an appointment at 1 p.m. on Monday. We can't match you with a student or someone working a 9 to 5 that has a conflict at that time. So understanding exactly what you're looking for and kind of the ideal housemates, understanding kind of the personality fit. We want to go for personality fit beyond just assistance. So the first step would be that consultation call, and then we do all the work. We recruit everyone, vet them all, and then we would introduce you to our 2 favorite candidates and say, hey, David, here's 2 people that we think are really good fits that you'll like. And then you make a decision on which one you want to interview at the house. We, bring them by in a proctored conversation, and you get a chance to meet them and see if it's a good match for you.
Okay, and what's the cost again?
So we have 2 different costs that you can choose between. It's either $60 a month or $600 for a single time match fee. If you do the one-time match fee, we'll never charge you again. If you want to do the monthly, then it's just every month for the duration that they live with you and are helping out around the home.
Okay.
So then you don't pay them any extra. They get their room and board technically for helping you, that type of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So God bless Texas. It's not true in other states, but it's true in Texas that as much as you pay towards maintaining that room, it can be taken off as rent reduction. And so we've done the due diligence and worked with the legal teams to ensure that any home that we accept is within that standard. And so you're actually paying them quite well. You cover utilities and provide them furnished room. And in exchange, they provide 15 hours of help each week, which is about 65 hours of help a month. And really what it kind of balances out to is that you're usually paying about $20 an hour in rent reduction, but it's not coming out of your pocket, but it's a high pay rate for them. So it allows us to attract high quality housemates, like the ones that we are trying to exemplify there. We're not just getting people who are particularly desperate for housing. We're getting, high quality people who are really, it's often interested in some companionship themselves and also interested in helping out and kind of affordable housing there. And so, yeah, you're not paying them. The only payment you ever make are those 2 that I was just discussing with David there. Either of those options is your only payment. You just need to provide them with that housing and utilities.
Did you say this was all over Texas? I mean, it's not just Austin, right?
It is. It's specifically Central Texas right now. We'll expand out at some point, but we're based out of Austin and really like being hands-on and able to show up to the house and introduce you in person and stuff. And so currently we're serving anywhere really from kind of Georgetown to Buda. We did one in New Braunfels, but it was a long drive, so I'm kind of questioning whether or not I want to do that one again.
Mm-hmm. Do you service Kyle as well, right next door to Buda?
If you call me and you ask, I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for you and friends of
I was thinking of
friends of Lynn.
Yeah. No San Antonio yet?
I've had some requests in San Antonio. I have not made the jump yet. If you're a friend of Lynn, we may be able to make it work.
Okay.
We can have a conversation about it, but yeah, give me a call and we can probably make it work. But it's a longer drive.
Yeah. Well, a longer drive for you to check things out, or because if you were to find somebody, if someone's looking for something in San Antonio and somebody wants to live in San Antonio, then
Yeah.
Right? It's not
we would not match them with someone who works or studies in Austin. We'd match them with someone who's in San Antonio and wants to live in San Antonio. The joke about the drive is just that we are very hands-on in the process. So if you need help taking photos of the room, we'll come down and do it. And when we introduce you to a housemate, we want to be there to proctor that conversation and really see how that fit's going. So there's always someone who's showing up from Obi to make sure that that matches for that interview. And so we want to be there. So
Yeah,
that
of
drive is
course.
just us. The housemate
Yeah,
will be
no.
someone
And I
who's-
think
yeah.
that's wonderful. So what you do is, this is the answer. You go do your business with Obi Helpers, and you go to the Alamo and the Riverwalk and check
Mhm.
out all the Mexican restaurants and La
Oh
Villa.
yeah,
Okay, that's
I
what you
need
do.
to. I will. I'll
I don't
reach
need
out for a
anything
list.
right now, but I'm just
But-
thinking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Or even perhaps for your husband here.
Yes.
You know, might be
Yeah.
even the companionship part.
Mhm.
And all those rent, assistance that for us as for taxes and whatever,
Yeah.
sounds incredibly enticing.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well, and
okay.
the medical center in San Antonio, there's a lot of, hospitals here where people are traveling nurses and
Mhm.
the science, the UT Health Science Center, all that. You'd have a great group of people to choose from.
It's true.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, and for what you were saying about not needing it yet, sometimes what we also see is that family members are lonelier than they put on, and so often we place people in homes where it's more about companionship than really just assistance around the home. Loneliness and prolonged social isolation are the biggest social determinants of health. So I think the stat is that it's like I think it's smoking a pack of cigarettes a day is the same health effect as being long-term socially isolated. So just having a student, kind of a rent-a-grand kid who comes and lives with you and helps out is often kind of more benefit in the companionship side than really anything else. We hope it saves you money and the assistance can be great, but what we usually see is kind of a lifelong friendship coming from it, which I think far outweighs the financial benefits.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, I thought this was genius. So
So mine.
yes, that's wonderful. So I'm so excited that we crossed paths.
Yeah.
And that you were able to make time to join us today. So thank you. Now I'm not sure if I heard some other voices. Did somebody else join on Zoom after we?
Linda did.
I thought that was Linda. Hello, Linda. This is the voice.
Hi.
Hi, would you like to introduce yourself while we're at it? And thank you so much, Kel.
Oh, I wasn't expecting